Hey there, I'm Nate, and I'm going to demonstrate how to build with our new Hellscape bank pieces. We're going to do some negative space builds exposing phantasmal filters and terrain trays under these things. Let's see how they work. For negative space builds, the first thing you need is something to fill your negative space. So we could use this phantasmal filter, maybe for a small bit. So all we're going to do as a negative space build is do something that doesn't have tiles here. This is the negative space will be exposed here and tiles will be all around it. So I'm just going to take some of these new large bank pieces and we're just going to surround this thing. At the barest, most simple levels, this is a negative space build, something like this. All right, if you had a room, going a bit of boom. I don't have any walls and corners. Where the hell is this? Something like this, right, where you just expose some cool space that doesn't have tiles, that's negative space, and have some neat. So these new bank pieces that we have give us a whole bunch of options, right? So we've got our 3 new large bank pieces, which give us a ton of really fun negative space possibilities. So let's first take something big here. So let's get I'm going to take a terrain tray. So this is one of our old from Dungeons & Doom. This is a 12 by 12 lava terrain tray. Let's rim this thing with some banks and see what happens. Boom, here's one example of just doing some sort of negative space build. We'd cover this up if we were doing a real build, right? So you'd have this thing here. If you wanted to make this more of a pond, you could knock it out and go even bigger. Maybe do something, get these out, come on over here. Like a little landing. So that's just using these banks to surround something. And you could print something out at home on your own printer. Put something down here besides our phantasmal filters or our terrain trays. You could use a battle mat. All sorts of options. I once took a piece of mylar from like a razor packaging, some flashy silver mylar, and put it down, put some crystals in it. It looked like a cool thing. So lots of options there. So here's another thing we could do is take these same pieces and make it more of a river. All right, so maybe we want to build a big long river here. These new long banks pieces are really ideal for it because they can give us a lot of long coverage. You know what we're going to do? Let's put it right here. Do you want to do a turn? Let's do a turn. Let's use these to make a sort of river flowing into a big magma pool. All right, ready? Let's cue that Dwarven Forge metal music and go. So this is kind of a river coming into like a big pool area. I had this little outcropping to sort of break things up. So far we've just been playing with the banks pieces, the large banks and the small banks. If you want, we can also use the Trifecta pieces. So we have our Trifecta train pieces. You can pop them off and use the ledges for negative space builds. So we could, if we wanted something like this, we could swap out some of the pieces for visual variety. Take that one out and bring in one of these Trifecta pieces and a floor. And then once again, they play pretty well together. Slightly different slant to them, but they, especially with lava or magma, where it's kind of all jagged, you can get away with a lot. So you can swap out a lot of your, there's equivalent pieces in both almost. So you could swap this straight, or maybe we keep this one here. We knock this out, put a straight trifecta there, and another straight trifecta here. Little something like that. You could also use the trifectas for the offset. So if you wanted to narrow this thing down a little bit, you could use this and move it up by an inch to make that like a narrow section. Maybe go the other way, widen it up, come down. We're running out of negative space over there. You could also, for the flip side, you could use the trifecta walls. Let's say we wanted to have this be like a tunnel of lava. We could do something like this. If you wanted to have this be a tunnel of lava with nowhere to walk, so you'd have to take either, use a fly spell or some sort of weird lava boat or crazy fire resistance or some such. Maybe there's maybe there's something at the end. There's a little treasure in the end you got to get. Whatnot. So you can use these trifecta walls. Also do some beautiful negative space builds. Can give some good extra challenges to your players when there's just nowhere to stand and it's all hazards underneath. So the trifecta pieces and the banks pieces play really nicely together. They're very wonderfully interchangeable. You pop this thing. Oh, that's a swell. Put this in. The other nice thing to do with negative space, like we've done here with you just throw something in the middle of it, right? You could throw throw some obstacle, throw these things. Like things just look cool floating out in the negative space, right? That like suddenly it's a thing. You can make a little island out there, knock this guy out, make this. Put an objective out there, and now the players have to figure out how to get out there. Or even better, give them a couple options. Maybe there's a couple of jumpy stones, but of course there's there's something terrible waiting in the lava, or this one is a breakaway bit or something. If you're doing a section that feels repetitive, if you're using like the same straight a bunch in a row, you can just throw something up against it, and it helps break it up, make it feel a little more organic. You do a thing like that, and boom, voila, they feel very different. We have two transition pieces to get us into negative space. We've got this thing. This is a magma river transition. We have this, which is the lava rivers transition. So the purpose of these is to get us down to the level of the terrain tray or the phantasmal filter or whatever you're using as a base layer. So you pop this down, and then suddenly you can build right into it. So now we have the magma river coming down, transitioning to this into our other bit. So it really lets you just connect all of your various builds, various pieces in a lot of fun ways. And this thing is designed to go really nicely with our banks pieces. It also works with the trifecta pieces if you wanted. You could put that right up against it, or even this way. It's a little jaggy. Yeah, so mostly it's just figuring out how to expose some terrain tray and finding a fun way to do it, and creating some dynamic challenges for your players. So nothing steps up the drama than like the whole room is just full of deadly lava, and they've got to get something over there. Well, there's a bunch of casters casting spells at them or whatever. It's, you know, your encounter gets lively fast. So I hope this demo was helpful to you and gave you some ideas, tips, and tricks for building with our Hellscape pieces. Please subscribe and ring the bell if you want more quality content like this from Dwarven Forge. Thanks for watching, and now it's back to the anvil.